Terry, do you regret getting rid of your Sony 24mm F1.4 Gangsta Mode G Master for the 24-70 F2.8 Gangsta Mode G Master? Do you regret it? Yes, man, that's a hard question. Let's talk about it. What up, y'all? Tight Shirt Terry back in the building. Hey, the shirt is it's moderately tight. It might be a little too small, to be honest with y'all. But anyways, hope you're having a good day so far. If this is your first time here, yo, a big fat welcome to you. And if you're part of the fam, you part of the squad. As a matter of fact, come give me a hug and then drop a hashtag fam down below in the comments so that I know you up in here. I know I already made a video on this, and in fact, that video did way bigger numbers than I thought it was going to. But I got rid of my beloved 24mm F1.4 Gangsta Mode for the 24-70 F2.8 Gangsta Mode. Now, I did not pay. I found somebody local who wanted to trade straight up. Now, I did, I let him know, like, yo, you sure you want to do this? Because this lens is worth more money. But he was kind of opposite to what I wanted. He didn't need this big chunky zoom lens. He just wanted something small that he can lock off on a tripod, whereas I'm always running gunning. I'm always doing projects and stuff like that. And the versatility for me, I wanted to test out. So why am I making this video? Well, because when I made that video, which by the way, you can watch up there, I had just made the trade, but now it's been a few months and I have some opinions, and I've been asked, do I regret it? So that's what I want to talk about in this video. Now, before we get started, please do me a favor if you have not done so already. Like this freaking video. You don't understand how important that thumb is. And also, it's a great time to join the squad if you haven't done so already. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Turn on them notifications so you get notified when new videos go up. So, do I regret getting rid of the 24mm F1.4 G Master? Well, I think that's a loaded question. Let me tell you what I loved about the 24mm G Master, which I've said this in a previous video too. That lens is freaking amazing. 24mm F1.4 is freaking sharp as a tack. It's small, it's weather sealed, the autofocus is great. Like, there's so much good stuff to say about that lens. The only thing is it's a prime lens. And while I absolutely love and adore prime lenses, I much prefer them over zoom lenses. The problem is it's a prime lens, which means if I'm out in the field and I'm running and gunning, or if I'm making a YouTube video, having to change the freaking lens 40 times is very, very annoying, and it's excess wear and tear on your camera. And also 24mm is a very challenging focal length to work with. You need to be careful, mindful, all of that stuff with 24mm. But I did love the size. I love being able to melt the freaking background away at 24mm at f1.4. Oh my God, the lens is just so good. Unfortunately, I didn't have the money to own both. Why did I want something more versatile? Like I said, I got tired of switching lenses all the time. So in today's world, zoom lenses have almost like caught up with prime lenses when it comes to sharpness. So I was like, you know what? Let me go ahead and make the jump. Now, I've been using this, like I said, for close to 6 months. I've used it on paid jobs. I've used it for a lot of YouTube stuff. I use it for day-to-day stuff. And the one thing I hate about it is the size. My God, is this a big lens. Let me just tell you, like, if you just want to grab a camera to take with you, having a Sony a7S III or a7 III paired with a huge 24-70, like, it is very unnerving and uncomfortable lugging it around all day. It's heavy for vlogging. It's just a big lens that gets in the way of everything. But the benefits, yo, it's the classic prime versus zoom. The only difference is now zooms have freaking caught up. This thing is tack freaking sharp. The bokeh, even at 24mm at f2.8, which we'll talk about in a second, still buttery smooth. And even though this is not as sharp as the 24mm f1.4, obviously it's a zoom lens, I kind of like appreciate it, because the 24mm, especially being that these are mirrorless cameras, it is it's a very technical, sharp look. Whereas this is very sharp, but not as sharp as those. And it has more like a film look, it has more character, if you ask me. It's not as sharp, it's sharp enough, but the way the background melts away, like, I just love the way this looks, which I'm very surprised. The last 24-70 I tried was freaking years ago, and it was terrible. So listen, let's talk about some of the things that you guys were saying in the comments. And before we do that, if you are still here, do me a favor, drop a hashtag still here in the comments and let me know so far if you prefer primes or if you prefer zooms. The top things that y'all were saying in the comments. Yo, Terry, you came up on that deal. You got a much more expensive lens and you didn't have to pay anything out of pocket. Then there were people saying like, yo, if I were you, I would have never got rid of that 24mm G Master. I feel you. I want another one. The next thing was, yo, Terry, you should have got the Sigma 24-70 over the Sony 24-70. And while I can understand where you're coming from, I did not have to come out of pocket. So if I had to come out of pocket, yes, that might have been a topic of conversation. But because I didn't have to come out of pocket, I don't think I will ever get rid of this for any other 24-70 unless they come out with a Mark II version. Because obviously I would much prefer to shoot native over anything else. So that was one thing. And then the other thing that people kept saying is, yo, you should get 2 camera bodies. I mean, I have 2 camera bodies, but I don't always want to lug around 2 camera bodies. And then lastly, one of the big questions that got asked a lot was, how are you like coming along with the F2.8 versus F1.4? And I do want to address that question. Like I said, image quality wise, I've never been in a situation where I was like, yo, I wish this was sharper or anything like that. Is the F2.8 versus F1.4 a big deal? You can do this. If you have an F1.4 lens, stop it down to F2.8. See if that's a challenge for you. But for me, even though I absolutely loved having the F1.4 lens, is it a necessity? No. I have never been on a shoot. I have never been in any situation, including B-roll, YouTube stuff, all of that, where I felt like, man, I can't make this shot happen because I don't have F1.4. Now, I get it. Part of that advantage is that I'm using Sony cameras. So I got the A7S III. Low light is not a problem. A7 III over there. Low light is not a problem. For me, it's not a big deal in those situations if I need to go to 4,000 or 5,000 ISO because the A7S III can handle it. I understand how people might be concerned about it, but in my practices, I haven't come across a situation where I feel like it was an absolute requirement or that it was holding me back only being able to stop down to F2.8. I really feel like for most people, F2.8 is enough. And the trade-off, in my opinion, is worth the aperture disadvantage. You get 24-70 in one lens. That is freaking huge. And I know this whole thing boils down to primes versus zoom, but in real life practical use, I think a zoom for me is the better option. Now, obviously, if I could afford both, I would love to have them both, but right now I don't have that luxury, unfortunately. So to answer the question, Terry, after using this extensively for photos, for video, all of that stuff, do you feel like you regret getting rid of your 24mm F1.4 gangsta mode for the Sony 24-70 F2.8 gangsta mode? And now that we've talked about it, me and you, I don't think I regret it. There are things that I miss, but I don't think that I regret it because for my purposes, even though this has its disadvantages, it's huge, it's bulky, it's only F2.8 versus F1.4, not as sharp, etc. The pros outweigh the cons for me. Sure, it's not as sharp as the 24mm G Master, but it's sharp enough to where a point where I've never looked at a picture or video and be like, yo, I wish that was sharper. The F2.8 versus F1.4, again, for my purposes, I've never been in a situation where not having F1.4 was a hindrance or disadvantage. For me, I feel like it was worth the trade-off. So I guess the answer to the question is, do I regret it? I guess not. I love the 24-70 F2.8 gangsta mode. Like, this lens is so good. I don't care if the Sigma is better in your opinion or anything like that. I will never get rid of this lens unless a Mark II version comes out because it just checks too many boxes, even with the disadvantages. So with that being said, I would love to know your thoughts and your opinions on the whole primes versus zoom thing. I think that gap is so narrow now because this lens, Tamron zoom lenses, Sigma zoom lenses for Sony, like all of them are fantastic tack sharp lenses. How do you feel about it? And also, what zoom lens do you have? I would love to know your thoughts and opinions. So I don't know if this video was helpful or not. This is more so like me ranting and kind of just summarizing and following up on that first video, which again is up there if you want to check it out. But that's all I got for you. So until next time, next video, peace and chicken grease. Terry Warfield, I'm out. Peace.